What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
I don't want anyone to start expecting miracles from it. Still, it worked well enough this time. I didn't revive them for their own sakes but rather to prevent any hateful rumors about us from circulating. Whether you'd call them rumors is debatable, I suppose, but regardless. I mean, if they attack us for their own selfish reasons and die as a result, that's their fault and nobody else's. I don't have any obligation at all to resurrect them. But again, I don't want to give myself a bad rep around the world. It'll also save me from being hated by the average imperial citizen any more than necessary. Good thing Raphael's experiment worked, though. And since they're all back to life and everything, I'm gonna have all these fancy higher-ups take responsibility for everything they did. They're under Soei's supervision right now, in fact. Also, I should note that despite being alive again, it's still on a temporary basis at best. I'm willing to grant them a certain degree of freedom, but if anything comes up, we can trace them, no sweat. They'll never be able to escape us. So enough about them for now. I'm trying to get my work done as quickly as I can. Calgurio and the others were the test subjects to see if this procedure worked, and it did. Now it's time to scale it up. Before me lay the corpses of approximately 700,000 Imperial soldiers. We were inside the labyrinth, in Adelman's Floor 70 domain, just in case something funny happened. I had collected as many bodies from the battle as I could, going out on the field and teleporting them all down here. Gabta, Geld, Gabel, and the assorted floor guardians joined me in the effort. The corpses laid out here were all the ones who could still be revived. The Imperial forces who deployed in front of Dwargan's East Gate were still there. That standoff remained ongoing. The 940,000 who invaded the Forest of Jura were all killed in battle except for Misha, Lucius, and Raymond. Of these, over 240,000 were sadly unsalvageable. One reason why resurrection magic is said to be impossible is because you can't recreate souls from thin air, but thanks to Testarossa and the other demons, we had these souls in safekeeping. As long as we had their bodies handy, we could resurrect them, but, well, not all of them had bodies left. Ultima's nuclear flame kinda vaporized a lot of them, Testarossa's death streak scrambled the DNA of a bunch of others, and Carrera's gravity collapse turned a whole slew of people into piles of ash. And even if we had a body, sometimes it still wasn't possible. For one, if someone died because of sheer terror, the ego, the most important part of the body, was trashed and long gone, so we couldn't do anything for them. Kanzis, killed by Kumara, was one example. I guess the fear literally broke his heart at the edge of death, so there were no data particles left in his soul. Not even Raphael could restore those, sadly, so there was nothing I could do for the guy. But that was fine. I wasn't planning on reviving the likes of Kanzis anyway. So as I said, 240,000 soldiers of the Empire were permanently dead. But hey, it was gonna be all of them originally, so they really ought to count their blessings. I felt sorry for those who wouldn't make it back, but sometimes that was just the way the cookie crumbled. I wasn't an omnipotent god, you know. I couldn't create something out of nothing. And, really, I don't regret a thing about this. I do think the three demonesses went way too far, for sure, but this is war. If we let up too much and got burned because of it, it'd be so incredibly stupid. My people are the only thing that really matter to me, and if I have to weigh them against strangers I know nothing about, then I won't hesitate to protect my people first. I'm not gonna go around like some saint, saying we should show compassion to invading enemies. If I was that much of a namby-pamby dolt, I'd be in no position to step up when we really did take damage. That's why I shouldn't be concerned about the ones we can't bring back to life. We shouldn't. But still, I've got this indescribable sense of sorrow for them. I guess I've still retained my values from living in a nation as war-free as Japan all that time. It's not regret, for sure, and I don't think what I did was wrong. But it's still not something I'm used to. I just can't help but think it'd be nicer if we could all just live happily and peacefully without anyone having to die. But still, I'm never going to show mercy to anyone who invades my domain. In fact, I'll make it a point to terrorize them to the hilt. I suppose it'd be hypocritical of me to pray for those souls. So instead of the dead, let me say a silent prayer for those we're able to bring back to life instead. The sacred birthday was put into action. Calgurio and his staff, fresh out of their recuperation room, looked shocked at the scene before them. At this rate, I wasn't sure they were gonna get any sleep. Not my problem, but anyway, let's get this over with. All the bodies have copied pseudo-souls installed in them. This is kind of an emergency, so I might as well make the most of my copies. It's the only quick way to secure enough pseudo-souls for them all. Their bodies were now restored and in clean, decent condition, thanks to Adelman and his squad of advanced holy magic casters. They worked tirelessly for the sake of these enemy soldiers, and I was incredibly grateful to them. Of course, Adelman doesn't need to sleep anyway, so I think he put in the biggest effort of all. Honestly, I think it tired him out more than fighting in the battle. He really deserved some credit for that. So all these clean bodies had pseudo-souls installed in them. I'm making it sound like a snap, but it goes without saying that it was only possible thanks to Raphael's staggering computational power. Next, I performed the secret art of implantation, a sort of cousin to the secret art of revival. I wasn't regenerating a soul here, so I didn't require nearly as much energy, but identifying every single individual body took a tremendous amount of computation. Raphael, once again, handled this. I was doing essentially nothing. Just standing here, really, meditating and leaving everything to that guy. The way he checked genetic information on the bodies against our soul records to instantly identify people was so amazing, I really should start calling it Professor Raphael. It was just so bizarrely complex, something I could never possibly imitate. But to Calgurio and the others watching from the sidelines, it must have looked like I was doing everything myself. At some point, they started kowtowing to me, like they were worshipping me or something. You know that makes me feel super uncomfortable, right? I wish they'd stop doing it. You've so got the wrong idea about me. But until this sacred birthday was over, I couldn't stop to complain. So over the course of a single day and night, the secret art did its stuff while I awkwardly squirmed under all the attention. The result was the successful resurrection of around 700,000 soldiers. Floor 70 was lined with rows and rows of simple tents full of food for the revived soldiers. Even the most confused ones after their resurrections were now calm, and everyone was quietly concentrating on their meals, as if they were digesting their very lives. They were enjoying a stew like Entra Copyright E, basically a bunch of veggies and meat cooked in a large pot, and it was hot and hearty. As the chaos subsided, and the soldiers came to accept their new reality, the soup left an impression on them that was difficult to put into words. Calgurio was among the defeated soldiers, now feeling much less tense. He hadn't even noticed his hunger until then, but as he basked in the feeling of the moment, he slowly realized, over and over again, that the demon Lord Rimuru killed him and everybody he knew in the army. Now, however, they were alive, although Rimuru called it a temporary life.
Don't worry, you'll all be able to live out a perfectly average lifespan. You can fall in love, form a family, have children, whatever. But just remember, we've put some restrictions on all of you to keep you from doing anything bad to us. The curse on your souls will ensure that you're never able to act against us again. I hope we're all clear on that.
That was part of the speech he gave once everyone calmed down. But Calgurio was sure that curse wasn't necessary at all. Who would ever dare to repeat such foolish behavior a second time? The disaster with Veldora several centuries ago left a deeply instilled sense of fear in all who witnessed it. But even if the dragon leveled a city and killed everyone in it, such a disaster could easily be replicated by human hands, too. Maybe that was why, despite this palpable fear, nobody thought that it could ever be conquered by some other, greater fear. Or maybe, if there were more initial survivors, that fundamental sense of fear could have been spread more, turning it into more of an inviolable thing. But that'd be the end of it. This time, though, there was no mistaking matters. I was once dead, but now I've been brought back to life, by the hands of an ungodly demon lord. Bearing witness to such a ridiculous miracle, not a single person among them would ever dare to defy him. I was far too foolish. It was a reminder that we all had gotten too big for our own good. Or was that really even a demon lord in the first place? Calgurio's doubts went that far. Krishna, meanwhile, was already worshipping Rimuru like a god only one night post-revival. Even now, he was watching him go around, eyes rapt. It was sheer idolatry. Of course, Calgurio was the first to worship him, so he wasn't one to talk. This temporary life the demon lord spoke of turned out not to be a problem, either. Yes, they had lost nearly all ability to fight, but not enough so to make life too difficult. They could still defeat monsters, at least up to a certain level. Maybe their powers were now insignificant to someone like the demon Lord Rimuru, but to Calgurio and his companions, a few of them still had strength that would rank close to an A. They couldn't use skills, and magic was proving to be tricky for them, but they still had their well-honed bodies. Plus, they'd be allowed to live out their natural lifespan until they became old and decrepit. That, Calgurio thought, was good enough, and that thought was shared by all 700,000 of his comrades present. With all the gratitude and awe going around, there was no way anyone would dare rebel against the demon lord Rimuru. It was a complete, utter, heartfelt defeat. Everyone wanted the fighting to just stop already. The Empire's invasion was now over, and it ended in a complete failure.
Volume 14 Prologue. The Clown's Decision. Part 1.
Although the news had not yet reached the Empire, its citizens were blissfully unaware. After all, their cherished family members, the imperial generals who were intended to assault the Western nations through the Great Jura Forest, were all mercilessly killed. With an army of almost 1 million soldiers, defeat had never occurred to anyone. Nobody questioned their ability to realize their long-held ambition to conquer the West and create a fully unified country under Emperor Rudra's name. Although the formidable Great Jura Forest posed a challenge, there was now no need to be alarmed because Veldora, the wicked dragon, had been weakened. That is how it was intended to be. Under His Majesty the Emperor, the Imperial Army's invasion campaign, widely regarded as the most potent of all time, had at last started. At least, this was the broad consensus among the participants, although nobody had anticipated a difficult battle, let alone a loss. None of them could have possibly predicted that they would not be able to reach the Western nations or that their invasion army would be annihilated in the Great Jura Forest. But the Imperial Army had been destroyed without having accomplished anything. These subjects would be made aware of just how big the world was by the unanticipated obstacle known as the Jura Tempest Federation. The Empire's citizens would soon become aware of these facts. At the Imperial City headquarters of the Mixed Corps, secret meetings took place in the opulent chamber designated for the Corps commander. Yuki, the owner and leader of the moderate clown troupe, was present at the moment, followed by Kigali, Laplace, Tyr, and Footman. Misha, one of Cerberus' 3 heads, was also present. As Vega was on a mission with his magic beast corps, he was unable to attend the meeting.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the new members of AnimeKouhai supporters: Carl Stephen Bernadelle, Tank Bailey, Gareth Hashimoto, Zach Rosen, Byron, Steven Madison, Micah Stern, Kim Man, Homelike Drop, Fuzzy Topadar. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.